Hello. We're continuing to spend some time this summer in the Psalms, both in our summer preaching series and also in these midweek devotionals. And today I want to read from Psalm 46 and basically ask this question: what do you do when your stresses seem to be greater than your strengths? When the stresses outweigh your resources, what do you do? So here from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So we will not fear when earthquakes come and the mountains crumble into the sea. Let the oceans roar and foam. Let the mountains tremble as the waters surge. A river brings joy to the city of our God, the sacred home of the Most High. God dwells in that city. It cannot be destroyed. From the very break of day, God will protect it. The nations are in chaos and their kingdoms crumble. God's voice thunders and the earth melts. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. Come see the glorious works of the Lord. See how he brings destruction upon the world. He causes wars to end throughout the earth. He breaks the bow and snaps the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation. I will be honored throughout the world. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. That's Psalm 46. There's a lot there. We want to touch on a few highlights. Obviously, that is a psalm about God's protection of his chosen city here on earth and his chosen people. The Psalms come from a world that knew more than its fair share of trouble. And it's easy to pick that up in reading either testament. And of course, today, we know enough of both what I would call short-term and long-term trouble. There are those things that surprise us, and then there are those troubles and disasters that last for a while, and we wonder if we'll ever get through those. Well, this psalm describes real potential catastrophe. Imagine the disaster of a world falling apart, and that's what's described here. So Psalm 46 makes reference to what if the mountains would slide into the sea. Now, remember that to ancient people, the sea was wild and uncontrollable, and that reminded them of evil in the world, and because of evil, the potentials of disaster. So the thinking is, if those old, strong, stable mountains that have seemingly always been there, if they were to crumble and slide right into the churning sea, that would spell the end of everything. Well, there's calm here in the psalm, and the psalm writer says, well, even if that happens, we won't fear. Even if the worst disaster falls on us, we won't fall apart because God is our security and God is our strength. One of the translations says he's a very present help in trouble. I used to wonder about that. What do you mean he's very present? Wouldn't we say that God is either present or he's not? Of course, what it means here is that God shows up to do something. He shows up to help. When he comes, he's ready to help us and be strength for us. So we don't just ask God to send help like a plane might fly over and drop supplies to needy people in the jungle. No, God himself comes, and we have his presence. And when we have his presence, the idea here is we have everything we need. Okay, so there's possible catastrophe, but there's calm because of the Lord's presence. And then there's this challenge. Maybe we could say it's a calling for us to understand. And verse 10 talks about that, and there are two parts to it. And you might have this as a verse around your house. But the first part is be still. And isn't that sometimes the hardest thing for us to do, to be still, to quiet ourselves before God, to stop our struggling, to settle down and let our own efforts go. So be still before the Lord. And secondly, know Him. Know Him. And that means a couple of things. First of all, just acknowledge Him. Be still and acknowledge the Lord and His presence and His greatness. But I think here it also means know Him in His grace. Know His presence in your immediate experience of trouble. And that's the call for us. That's the great possibility for us. Well, finally, I'll just say this psalm expresses a lot of confidence, even in the face of trouble. And so 2 times you heard it, like a chorus in a song, twice. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. And so we see it again and again in the Bible, from cover to cover. God's people do live in a troubled world, but we also live in Him, in His presence, in His grace, in His help. So if you will look to Him today, you will find that God's resources and God's strengths are more than enough for you. In spite of how difficult your trouble is, your strengths are greater than your stresses. Amen. God bless you.